Welcome to Whiskey Wednesdays, where we drink the finest whiskey and argue the most important topics on the internet.
Because if there's anything that the internet doesn't love more, it's telling people they're wrong and debating things.
And with each topic, we've taken sides. And even if we don't really care, we're gonna die on this hill.
So hear us out and let us know why we're wrong.
Hey Greg,
Hey.
what are we drinking today?
So this is one of my all-time favorites, and probably if you're in the bourbon world, Blantons is known as one of the best bourbons that you can get. I do want to thank Chase. He's one of our buddies for getting this for us. He lives down in Kentucky. Blantons is really hard to find because it's such a sought-after bourbon. So quick background on Blantons is Blantons is distilled by Buffalo Trace in Frankfort, Kentucky. It's 93 proof. And when you sip it, there's vanilla on the nose of it, and then like a citrus oak on the palate after. Story about Blantons. Blantons is the original single barrel bourbon, and that happened in 1984. And the reason that's special is up until that point, distillers would make hundreds of barrels of bourbon and then mix them together to create the flavor profile that they would like.
Okay.
So taking a single barrel and bottling that was unheard of up until 1984. Elmer T. Lee, who worked there at the time, remembered that Colonel Blanton would go into Warehouse H,
Okay.
and would go into the center of it, into this special place,
Warehouse
and
H.
would find these barrels, which they would call the honey barrels. He figured out that in this one place, in this warehouse, these barrels, for some reason, were better than all the rest.
Very
so they called it
interesting.
the honey barrels.
Okay.
So Colonel Blanton would do that. He would go and pick out those honey barrels, and he would serve those, because it was the best of the best, to, if there were foreign dignitaries coming in, any special people, he would serve those special ones to.
Okay.
So that's kind of the background of that. It's the original single barrel bourbon. And
That's fascinating. You can even see on here, it even says on this Blanton's bottle. So this is Blanton's on 10/26/20, barrel number 212, stored in warehouse H, which we now know stands for honey.
So the reason that I picked Blanton's for today,
Okay.
not only because I want to make sure that we pick some really good bourbons, and anybody watching this is going to know this is really
Smells
good
nice.
bourbon,
Yeah.
is that today we're going to be debating 9mm versus 45.
Yeah, we are.
Right? So when I looked at this, I'm like, pretty sure this is what 45 guys think they're shooting out of the gun. Like,
Oh yeah.
like a cannonball, right?
Basically
Like,
the size.
it's about the size, or at least this is the size of the hole that it'll make.
Yeah.
When
The
it
entry
comes,
wood.
right? Versus, 9mm is this
Puny thing.
puny little guy right here.
Yeah.
45
Mine's-
guys think that this is what they're shooting, so I thought that was kind of a fun.
This is exactly what we're shooting. That's why there's so much recoil.
Yeah, so I thought this would be a good one for today. Pour a finger or so in here.
Give me about half that.
Give you a little splash.
That's
All
it.
right.
That's what I want. So good?
So good. All right.
Okay.
I don't really want to debate. I just want to sit here and sip on some Blantons. Okay.
Oh, I see what you mean, though. About the vanilla up
like
front.
the vanilla, yeah.
Yeah.
It's very
That's
distinct
actually
vanilla
very
up
good.
front. And then I love the oakiness. Okay. So, debating 9mm versus 45.
9mm versus 45.
You chose 45 because you're a glutton for punishment.
Yeah, it's not an easy one to defend.
You had a tough one last week. Mm-hmm. We did hear from you guys, and a lot of you thought that Dusty's position was tough.
It was unbelievably tough.
And you have another tough one this week.
I do.
But
Yeah.
each round has some good things to think about. And there's a reason why 45 is such a long tenured, and 9mm are such long tenured rounds
That's right.
in the defensive
They're amazing.
and competition worlds,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So today we are specifically talking about defensive rounds.
Right.
Hollow point rounds, we're talking 25 yards and in. We're specifically wanting to focus in on defensiveness here.
Correct. Yeah.
Right? So I thought maybe we could kind of go back and forth and kind of give some facts. We're going to lay the groundwork and lay some facts down for each round.
Okay.
I'll give you just a kind of a quick quick background.
Little
So
stats swap.
yeah, quick background look at 9mm Luger, or also called 9mm Parabellum. So it was created in 1901 by Austrian George Luger. It allowed Luger to improve the function of, I'm going to butcher this, the Borchardt pistol, and make the grip smaller and more angled. It helped with the function of the round.
Got it.
The round that he was starting off of was longer, so he made it a little bit shorter.
So you wanted to make the grip fit in your hand better and your angle be better, right? Okay.
Yep. It was also created to be lighter weight, and this also allowed higher capacity in the guns, and it also kept costs down because it takes less lead, takes less brass, less powder.
Smaller overall, we saw
Smaller
how big
overall.
it was comparatively.
So it's going to help in all those areas.
Okay.
So that's just it. And some of the other benefits for them, it was higher velocity, meant flatter shooting, and slightly longer range than the ammos than the round that they're using.
Okay,
before.
that's pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll tell you about the 45
Tell me what
ACP, aka 45 Auto, aka stopping power baby. Right? It's a rimless, straight-walled handgun cartridge. It was designed by John Moses Browning. In 1904, Browning created this round for use in his new prototype gun. You may have heard it, the Colt M1911.
Heard of it, yeah.
Yeah, you might have. I mean, it's a good gun. And the round was specifically developed due to a lack of stopping power with the current rounds. The current round was a .38 long Colt, and that was being used by the Sulu, country of Sulu, which was in the Philippines. The Moru Rebellion in the Philippines was the current conflict that was going on. And they needed a little more punch in their rounds, so they talked to Browning, said, hey, we need something. And he's like, well, I got this cool prototype pistol coming out. It needs a bigger round. I got you.
There's quite a difference in size between
Massive.
the 38 and 45.
Massive.
John Browning was like, you want bigger?
I got you, fam.
I got you.
And he's like, so like this much? No. Like this? No.
No.
Like this much?
We want-
No. Like, and then eventually he came out with this.
We want this. Yeah, we want but hand cannon. So I will give John Browning that. He is, as some people call him, our Lord and Savior, John Browning.
Brilliant man.
You've seen those memes.
Yes, absolutely. Brilliant for his time,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So
Yeah. So
clearly, someone that brilliant comes up with the best round over just some guy who's like, I want a smaller handle.
So it is interesting. We do want to take a minute just to give a little background so we understand where these rounds came from, because I think it does play into, and it kind of goes on to further some of our coming debate here
Sure.
of the pros and cons for each round. All right, so let's go back and forth with a few more boring stats here.
We got some stats.
But they're very important.
Interesting stats.
All right, we are both basing this off of Spear Gold Dot
Yes.
ammo.
Okay.
It's a very, very common round. We
Right.
figure this is a good kind of just baseline. We understand there is a ton to ballistics between barrel lengths and plus P and plus P, and they're plus P plus and all kinds of things.
They got like expanding rounds and shard rounds and explosive rounds.
But we each picked Spear Gold Dot and kind of the most common grain in our caliber. So I'm looking at 124 grain Spear Gold Dot. I'm looking at muzzle, 364 feet-pounds of energy, and 1,150 feet per second at the muzzle.
At muzzle for me, if we're trading off here, right, I'm rocking the 230 grain Spear Gold Dot 45
Considerably,
Auto.
almost double.
Yeah, that's a big round.
Yeah.
Okay. At muzzle, we've got 343 foot-pounds. What was yours?
364.
364, so
Slightly less.
slightly bigger. And then muzzle velocity, which I believe is slower than yours, is at 820 feet per second.
Yeah, 9mm is barely supersonic.
Yeah.
Supersonic's about 1,100. This is 1,150. Barely supersonic, but it is. And
It still whistles when it goes by.
you are well under
And this just goes,
supersonic.
glides.
Yeah. So how about at 25 yards? This round is at 328 foot-pounds from 364, and it's at 1,092 feet per second from 1150.
It loses quite a bit of velocity pretty quickly. So mine is at 328 foot-pounds.
The same.
It's like dead nuts the same. And that it is only moving, at that point, it has lost 19 feet per second, so it's at 801.
Interesting.
Holds the feet per second pretty strong.
So 25 yards,
yeah.
both rounds have the same foot-pound energy.
Yeah. Yep.
And really, not a... The 9mm has a little bit more a speed and velocity at that range, but not a lot more.
No. Yeah.
So it's kind of fascinating to see at 25 yards how similar both of these rounds are. Let's talk cost.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So 9mm. So this round we're talking about is MSRP is $36.
Mine would be around $41.99, so $42 for 20 rounds. Yours is for 20 rounds too.
So it's a little bit more. Not.
Yeah.
I'm saying amount more, but just a little bit more. 45 is. All right, it might be interesting. So 9mm opens up, this round opens up to be 0.7 inches, which is pretty crazy. When you look at how small a 9mm is, it opens up to near 3/4 of an inch when it pedals up. Yeah. What does yours look like?
Mine would be right around 0.76 inches, so just a little over 3/4 of an inch.
Yeah, so about 1/16 inch larger.
Yeah.
Than 9mm.
Right.
And what I'm going to guess goes in again. Neither of us are experts in this. We're just researched in this. My suspicion is that the reason 45 doesn't open up to like over an inch because it's a shorter, stubbier round.
Right.
You can only get so much pedaling before it's going to break off.
Yeah, the fronts only lifts. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas 9mm is longer, so you have more capability to open up. So keeping that in mind, so 45 does out-expand 9mm, not by much, but every 10th counts, I would think. And the last kind of stat we have here is ballistic gel penetration. This round is at 13.25 inches.
Mine would be at 15.5 inches.
So
serious penetration.
See. I don't know how you don't laugh at these numbers. Okay, so we've laid down some stats and some history and some groundwork here. I'm actually surprised at how close.
Very similar.
How close these rounds are.
Yes.
So
I do have a bit more.
Okay.
In terms of stopping power, I have a bit more in terms of expansion. You have more muzzle velocity, but in general, like the overall energy transfer, just.
So you bring up stopping power. That's an interesting.
Stopping power.
Tell me about stopping power. What makes something have stopping power?
Well, you actually had the definition earlier, and I can't remember it off the top of my head.
So
you wrote it down.
So stopping power. I know you 45 guys like to think that because you're shooting something this big, that just automatically means that it has stopping power. But stopping power doesn't mean the impact that a round has on its target.
It's not impact energy.
It means how quickly will that round incapacitate its target? How good is it at creating wounding? And you're right. So how quickly can it stop your target?
Stop the target.
That is not by sheer size, but by how well it can wound
and damage
its
internal organs.
Its target. So with that knowledge, we can already just take off of the table. We're not, saying that the 45 is 100 grain more means it has some crazy amount more stopping power. That's not
technically true, right?
Right. That's not true.
It's not reasonable to assume that just because it's heavier. Remember, just because it's heavier doesn't mean that it has more energy. It does have a little more energy. But just like the weight isn't what gives it to it, isn't only what gets it to it, right?
That's not true. The size isn't what gives it to it.
Right.
Weight.
The mass.
The mass does have something to do with it.
Yes.
So,
but velocity technically has double the amount to do with it, which is why they made it go faster, and it still is able to deliver the same amount of energy.
Right.
Yeah.
And with 9mm technology and the technology that's going in these rounds, to me makes 9mm the superior round because it's It's smaller. It's less expensive. You have more capacity, and it opens up to create, some major wounding
Okay.
in the target. I can't even imagine thinking of any other round, especially 45. Just doesn't make sense to me. But why would I want something I can carry less of in my gun when I can have more of something?
So, back to what you're saying, the logic that doctor has is that handgun rounds are moving far too slow to have any major, what's it called, hydrostatic shock.
Right.
And what was the other massively fancy word that you had us write down a while ago? And I forgot to.
I don't remember.
It was temporary.
A temporary wound cavity. And permanent wound.
Yeah, temporary wound cavity expansion and permanent wound cavity expansion. And handgun rounds do have some of that, but they aren't really moving fast enough to make it notable in terms of the difference between 9mm and 45, something we learned while researching this. Rifle rounds, on the other hand, have massive temporary and permanent wound cavities just because of the ballistics of the round, how fast they're moving and how much air they pull with them and behind them.
Right, but if we're going to talk about carry defensive weapons here, unfortunately rifle rounds don't really get to
Not really.
Don't really get to enter into this conversation.
At the moment.
Unless if the old adage, I use my pistol to get to my rifle.
Sure, which is smart.
Intelligence.
That's called intelligence.
You should do. If you have a rifle, if you have a rifle nearby, use that pistol to get to that rifle.
Yes.
But I got to think 9mm has more of the temporary and permanent wound cavity expansion than 9mm. I'm shooting something supersonic, so I'm going to get more.
It may. But as that doctor said, they're basically the same. So in terms of that, it's wherever the round hits. If it hits.
Yeah, it's all about shot placement.
Yeah. So bigger round equals a little floppier you can be on shot placement. Smaller round equals smaller sloppiness you can be on shot placement.
I don't know that argument stands. Like you're talking about something that's like a 16th inch.
16th inch gets the job done, man.
It might.
Yep.
It might be what you need.
Yep.
But I'm going to take 9mm because, and I'm not saying that I'm like, volume over accuracy here. I'm not trying to say that at all. But if I can carry 15 rounds, hearing from this doctor that there's people with 8 to 10 bullet holes that are still alive. That if they're still alive, that means they're still deadly.
Sure.
So I might need to shoot somebody 11 times, 12 times.
It's a good thing I work for a reload company. Problem solved.
It's true. But I don't know too many 45 small, concealed carry guns that hold that kind of capacity.
I want one.
Sorry, 1911 guys. From these stats, we're finding out your 8 rounds.
You're gonna need a reload.
Likely won't get it done, even though you think you're shooting.
I know where you can get reloads from. We got a site, www.theneomag.com. Just go on there, grab the large. That's gonna work for you, and then you got your same capacity. So
I am going to try to. We've been saving all the links to where we find info. I'm going to leave them in the comments so that you can go see for yourself.
I got another point to bring up.
Okay.
So we've taken a lot of vehicle courses, and part of the vehicle courses you realize that window glass deviates rounds. And I don't really want to go into how that all works because it's something you should just go take a course on. But what you find is that when you're shooting out of a car, your rounds deviate up. And when you're shooting into a car, your rounds deviate down. And part of that deviation is varied by the amount of mass of your round. So smaller rounds, like even a .223 round, which is moving very quickly, tends to deviate a lot when it impacts glass. Same thing with 9mm. 300 blackout and 45 tend to deviate less. So your accuracy when shooting in and out of a vehicle until you've broken holes through the glass tends to be greater when using a heavier round. I think it's a major pro for the 45 that people tend to overlook. One, when you're in a car, I'm going to call it breech pressure, but the pressure that's created when the round first goes off is lower, therefore the concussion inside of the car is lower. And the round is subsonic, so it punches a hole through that glass and leaves you a bit less disoriented.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know that I can argue with that.
I think.
I mean, when you look at like a 45-70, it's a brush gun. A giant heavy bullet is called a brush gun because it just blasts through brush.
It literally will take out limbs and still maintain the same course or trajectory.
I'm going to counter that though.
Okay.
But we've also taken automobile classes and shot 9mm solid copper that went through pillars.
It's amazing. It was mind-blowing.
It was insane to see a 9mm. There's no way a 45, I don't care what it is.
Solid copper 45 round has the same amount of energy.
That's true. We did not test.
We didn't test
a solid copper 45. That is terrifying to think about.
Who made that?
Fort Scott.
Fort Scott Munitions.
Fort Scott solid copper 9mm went through an A pillar.
Something to behold. Yeah, I went through a B pillar, and then the second round that I shot, which I have in my office, it was amazing, went on the hinge that like changed the door, and it stamped the numbers on the hinges into the round, but it did not penetrate through it.
But you get that from speed. I actually would put money on that the 45 would not make it through, just because of the sheer size of that round that needs to make it through a pillar. That 9mm solid copper.
I don't know.
And here's something else. If we do kind of want to get into different
specialty rounds,
different loads, there are like 60 grain 9mm.
Yeah.
That will defeat body armor because they are so fast. Speed is king.
I was looking online, and there's a 90 grain 45.
Oof.
Could you imagine the speed? I think it was something like 1,200 feet per second. But once again, you can change your rounds out and make any gun do different things, right?
Right.
Like high speed, if you want that, find a round that's high speed. It's plus P plus rounds typically have a much higher pressure.
And that's something we didn't get into the plus P plus. And again, we started this off by saying there are so many different types of rounds out there, and a drastic difference in ballistics between the type of gun and the barrel they're coming out and all that stuff. But I think it was interesting for us to dig into. We thought that we were going to be able to just take more staunch sides on this.
I really did.
And we really kind of came down to that neither of them are great.
Yeah. Pistols suck at killing people.
At killing. So I think we've solved this.
We have.
By saying carry a rifle.
Go get a rifle. Like, that's problem solved.
Yeah. Yep. And more than anything, I believe we've proved that 45 sucks.
No, absolutely not. Suppress a 9mm. Okay. Then suppress a 45.
I have.
Which one's cooler?
They're both freaking awesome.
No, because the 9mm still has the sonic boom. The 45 goes.
No, by definition, subsonic. I have subsonic. We've shot my 9mm.
Yeah, you have to get specifically 9mm subsonic. 45 is subsonic. All the 45s is subsonic.
Okay.
It's a beautiful round.
Yeah.
And suppressed rounds are way cooler.
I don't care what it is. If it's suppressed, I'm
absolutely. But could you imagine concealed carrying a suppressor from a 45?
No, I don't want to.
Be awesome, man.
All right, guys, you let us know which caliber is your favorite and why. Did we forget something? Are we morons?
Yes, I can tell you that.
I mean, you guys are, we are. But tell us why we're wrong. We would love to hear it. And let's talk real quick about our next subject.
Yeah, what do you want to do?
So, I thought. This is something that on social media we get hit with a lot.
Oh, this is gonna be controversial.
When they see our video on this, people are like, "They're gonna shoot your junk off." And
don't you ever know that you're not supposed to point a gun at something that you don't want to shoot?
So you guys can tell from that, we're gonna discuss appendix versus hip carry.
Dibs on appendix. I'm tired of defending the tough side.
Guys, help me out so I can beat this guy in next week's Whiskey Wednesday.
There ain't no way. Appendix.
Hip carry is better.
No way.
People have been doing it for so long. You know what? I don't want to get into it now.
I'm telling you right now.
Next week.
You're gonna lose this battle.
You're going down.
No, absolutely not.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time.
Cheers. What is the story with the tops of these?
Right. So this is kind of their signature thing with Blantons. As you see here, there's a guy riding a horse. Well, we're in the heat. We're in the center of Kentucky, where horse racing is big,
that's
right?
That's the horse racing country.
So there's actually 8 different stoppers.
Okay.
Each one is in a different stride. of the horse,
Yeah. Oh, I see.
of the horse galloping, and you can actually see there's a little
Is there a number?
letter right here, L. So
Okay.
it spells Blantons.
Oh, that's cool.
If you collect them all,
Yeah, okay,
it spells
so-
Blantons, and each one is in a different stride.
That's right.
The best way to collect them all
Yeah.
is to have to keep buying barrels. Or, I'm sorry. The best way to find them all is to keep buying bottles of Blantons until you get them all.
Right.
Now, Buffalo Trace has made it a little bit easier. You can actually go into their gift shop and you can just buy whichever stoppers
Buy
you
whichever
need.
one you want.
Unfortunately, I have like 2 L's, and so that doesn't really help me out too much.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's kind of their signature thing.
So
with
the lids really don't have anything to do with what's in it. It's just a collector's series.
yeah, it just kind of
The
adds some
actual
value
barrel
to the,
is written on.
Yeah, I mean, we're marketing guys.
Yeah.
If you can figure out a way
To make something.
to make something collectible and to make it difficult to be collectible.
Do they make displays for these? Like.
Yeah, so
Okay.
yeah, there are. If you Google Blanton stopper displays, you'll find they'll take a stave out of a barrel
Yeah.
and they'll drill
Oh.
into it so you can put them. So you got barrel
You have the
there,
staves, and then you have the.
yes, and
That's
you got
cool.
them in there. There's all kinds of things with those.
This stuff's actually really good.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the best I've ever tasted, but dang, it's pretty good.
No, I think it's overhyped.
Yeah.
I think so. MSRP on this is like 65.
Yeah.
This regularly, easily sells in the secondary.
That's crazy.
For 3 times that.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Like-
I saw it at a place selling it for $290 something.
Yeah. Like it's.
Not worth it.
No,
Sorry.
I don't-
It's a $100.
It is a solid drink.
Yeah.
I would maybe pay like, I don't know, between 75 and 100. Like if I was having a hard time finding it, I really want to have it on the shelf. I like to always have it on the shelf because it is such a sought after bottle that if I have friends over
And they like Blantons.
and they're like, oh, Blanton's, I've never had that.
Here you go, man.
Here you go, you get to
Absolutely.
experience it. So I like
Yeah.
to keep a bottle around for that
That's
reason.
cool.
That's about it.
I do like this.
Yeah, it was very good.
46.5% alcohol by volume. 93 proof. I like the fact that they write on it with pen.
Anytime I see a bottle that is handwritten on,
Yeah, you know it's
will
going to
buy
be
it.
decent. Yeah.
because
Someone's put the time and effort to actually make this.
it was good enough, special enough
Right.
to get handwritten on.
Some guy
Not
sat
just-
there and,
Not
this came from
mass
this line.
labeled.
Yeah. That's cool. All right, man.
All right, that's gonna be an interesting one because I don't know that either of us are really.
I also think we rambled on for way too